She's not the greatest of all time. Don't get me wrong. I know she beat Cyborg. Okay.
Yes.
But the greatest of all time is done over a span. Not to mention, you're taking. I don't know what's the age difference between the two of them.
Between Chris and Amanda,
but Chris is
not much.
But Chris is what? She's been she was champion and hadn't lost a fight since her very first fight. Her first fight.
Yes.
10 years. Yeah. Amanda has gone up and down throughout her career. Don't get me wrong. She's right now at the top of her game. There's no doubt of it. You can't. That's not deniable. But to say that she's the greatest of all time, absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. Now, look, the arguments can always be that, and I've made these arguments against John Jones and everyone else that has had some sort of cheating problem. Okay, and Cyborg is in that conversation. I can't not have that discussion. So if you want to do that because of that, I agree. Okay, then you can say Amanda is probably right there next in line to be the greatest of all time. You know, I don't know what other female would be ahead of her. You know, I mean, there's Cyborg and there's Amanda gaining on her. But 10 years, she was 10 years, I think longer than 10 years. Scroll down, Cyborg's undefeated. 15 years.
I said 2018 was when she lost to Nunes, and then 2005 was when.
So 2005, so 2018, so what? 13 years. 13 years, not one lost fight, one no contest in there, but not one lost fight.
That's the one you're talking about because that's the one that she failed the drug test.
Yeah, and so I understand, but it's just not true. If you pull up Amanda Nunes' record, she's won, she's lost, she's won, she's lost. Don't get me wrong, she's won a lot. What, the last hold stop? And when was her last loss? Kat Zingano was her last loss in 2014. That's great. At 2014, plenty of years. Math is just not my strong suit. So,
well, I did one of her losses, against Sarah. She's at the time when Amanda was coming up, and she was in Invicta at the time, and then she was, Strikeforce, and then Invicta. And her fight with Alexis Davis, she lost in Strikeforce. And then she won a fight, and then she lost again when she went to Invicta with Sarah D'Alio. And, she was super athletic, and she was super, talented, but did not know how to control it and would go out and burn herself out. And it's the big difference in what we see in her now is she has learned to relax in the fight. She controls the pace of the fight. She puts the fight where it's good for her against that opponent. So her fight IQ is so much higher now, which that comes with fights.
Maturity.
But yeah, absolutely. Her fight against Kat Zingano, she was beating Kat up and she ran out of gas, and this is what I was talking about. She just could not control that pace, and she just went to kill everybody. But you could see, even back then, I told her, I said, you're going to be great. You just got to relax, because you could see she was tense. And now she's not tense at all.
Yeah.
She is just a stone killer. But I understand what you're saying is, let's take a look where that last one against Kat was in
2014.
2014. So she's gone, basically, we'll say 6.5, 7 years compared to 13.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference in that time frame, but she's fantastic, and I take nothing from her. And right now, especially in the UFC, I only see one person that can compete with her and in any fashion have a chance of beating her in a fight, and that's the champion in the 125. Shevchenko.
And here's the other thing.
Look at her.
Where do you put Shevchenko in that conversation with them? Because I know she's got a longer duration that she needs to beat women in her weight class, but her natural weight class is not 135. And if she has to fight Amanda Nunes again, that's not her natural weight class, and it shows.
No, yeah,
Shevchenko could do this for another 7 years. I won't say that long, but let's say another 5 years. Let's say another 5 years. She can be dominant for another 5 years. And we're having these conversations. I think it's the three of them at the top of that food chain, but her only losses have been to Amanda Nunes. She's beat Hall.
She had one to Liz Carmouche long ago, but it was on a cut, and it should never have been stopped.
In 2010.
Yeah. That was her first loss ever.
Yeah, over 10 years ago. So when you're comparing the two, they're right there almost together. I put Amanda slightly ahead of her because she's got 2 wins over her, but realistically, she's fighting up in a weight class. Like I don't really hold Izzy responsible for his loss to Jan. He went up in a weight class. This doesn't mean he still can't be the greatest of all time. He still has a chance and opportunity to get there, but it's gonna be hard. But I mean, but he's still damn good. He could definitely become the greatest guy at 185 ever. And so, but to say that she's better than Chris,
just think about what you just said though. He could be the greatest of all time at 185. He could be the greatest guy there ever. He's gonna have a lot. Again, this is where people forget. Think of the run that Anderson Silva had.
Yeah.
That was 185, man. I'm not saying that Izzy can't beat it, but he's got a long ways to go.
But John,
that's a tough one.
The conversation can be made for him that it was with Chris Cyborg in this conversation. Same exact situation. Both had problems with USADA and both had problems with whatever the commissions. And so, look, if you want to put that aside, those two, sure, I will say Anderson's better than Izzy in terms of he's already considered the GOAT in that weight class. And the same thing for Cyborg. At that weight class, she's already the GOAT. But if you hold that against them, then I can see the argument for Amanda Nunes. But if you're comparing the two, no, Amanda Nunes has more to get to the top. But I think Valentina's right there as well. She could be in that conversation given that she's gone up twice and she's fought in her, her 3 losses, but 2 of them are against Amanda Nunes.
Okay, but you go to the whole point of go to those 2 losses. And in the first one, it was a 3-round fight where Amanda definitely won the first 2 rounds. And then the 3rd round, Valentina was putting it on her. And Amanda was having problems. Fight ended. And so it was clear to the judges, they'd already given the first 2 rounds and that was right. And then in the second loss, I did that fight. That was a split decision loss. It was close. She's right there with her.
Yeah, that's impressive. Do we see that fight a 3rd time?
I honestly think eventually they're going to have to. If you do me a favor, Dave, pull up the 135 division for the UFC and the ladies. If you look at she's already beaten Jermaine. She's already beaten Holly. I like Aspen Ladd, but she's not ready.
No, she's not.
Amanda. I know that Juliana Pena has been lobbying for that fight, and I really like Juliana. I think she's a tough girl, and she's got a really good ground game. I just don't think that that's a good fight for her. Yeah. I think in the end, this is what happened with Megan Anderson, and I wasn't going to say it, but I talked to people that were there, and when the first time she got hit by Amanda, she went, "Ow."
Yeah.
That's something pro fighters don't normally do. Okay. And as soon as she did that, Amanda was like, okay, I'm just going to walk through. And then she hit her and hurt her. And she got the legs started going and stuff. Amanda's got pop. And that's a hard thing for anyone to deal with when someone has got that ability, because she's got fast hands and she's got snap behind it. So there's, obviously Holly Holm is a really good boxer and she's been the champion. She's a great fighter, but she doesn't have a ton of power in her hands. She's got good kicks that she brings up at times, but she got knocked out, by a kick from Amanda. And Amanda's just got, she's got that thing in her back pocket of the power that when she hits these other ladies, they go, ow. That's a problem.